This guy never has and never will have the power to fool me. Barack Hussein Obama. You know why? Well, this is where my Obama journey started. 2007. Now, 2007, it's a long time ago. It's like 18 years ago, yeah? Ish. Different world. We were in the midst of some idiocy called the War on Terror. And this guy came in promising to bring peace. Remember when he was given a Nobel Prize before he was elected, for his Nobel Peace Prize before he was elected? Because that's what he ran on. I'm going to end the wars. Oh, and free universal health care. He expanded the wars and then, in essence, got into bed with the insurance companies. He didn't do any of the things he promised. And then as soon as he got into power, the rhetoric suddenly became his wife's rhetoric. She was being cheered by everybody for being racist, for accusing everybody of racism. And they were saying, oh my God, this woman's amazing. It's like, no, this is like backward. But the media are like, oh, and I'm like, this is backward. But I couldn't take Obama seriously when I remember seeing this. Right? We had a lot of internet back then. 2007, it was not so different than what it is now, other than probably a little bit slower and the resolution wasn't quite so high. So this is a video of its time. But I saw this. This has been reposted, but this has been up for 16 years. It's quite difficult to hunt it down by searching for it. You have to know it exists and then hunt it. But here it is, 16 years ago. I saw this way back when he was early in his election campaign. Senator Obama campaigns. Right? And it's like, who is this fucking... I hate to use the word, but it's like primate. Who is this animal who runs his mouth like this? I remember the big ears and the strange name. It's like that. And you would be talking about this, and this guy was a relative unknown, and it'd be a matter of, what's he called, that guy who was saying his uncle liberated Auschwitz? What was he called? Big ears, black fella. That's big ears. Never left me. Who runs the mouth like this?
I had a uncle who was one of the, who was part of the first American troops to go into Auschwitz and liberate the concentration camps. And the story in our family is that when he came home, he just went up into the attic, and he didn't leave the house for 6 months. Right? Now, obviously, something had really affected him deeply, but at that time there just weren't the kinds of facilities to help somebody work through that kind of pain.
Who fucking talks like that? Right? Do you know why this is a problem? Auschwitz in Poland. It was liberated by the Red Army. No American will likely have set foot in Auschwitz until about 1953, 54, something like that. And it's like, he doesn't know anything about the Holocaust. So it's like, the real gory details of what went on at Auschwitz were only made public knowledge in the 1970s. Doesn't know anything about it. But would tell a story like this, right? And do you know what that is? That's somebody else's story. But that's some, it could likely be a member of the press's story, right? Who's there, an eyewitness of it. But it's an eyewitness of either a Russian soldier or a local who went into their place. It's not anything that happened to Obama's uncle. He's just stolen something a story that he's heard, because it's a familiar story, it's based on a true story. Stole it, attributed it to his family. It's like, your uncle was quite a guy. He got around. He did all kinds of things. He's like a child who has, he's fatherless, but says that his dad's this and he says that his dad's that, and it's like, that's what it reminds me of. Everybody at school went to a kid who would be saying that my dad is best at everything. There's a good joke about that, isn't there? Kids in the playground get into an argument about whose dad's the fastest. One kid says, my dad's so fast, could catch a speeding bullet. It's like you shoot at him, you catch the bullet, grab the gun off you, use it on you. He's that fast. So the kid says, that's nothing. Your dad's not fast. Why is that then? He says, my dad works for Rochdale Council. He's supposed to finish work at 5:30 and he's home at dinner time. Anyway. But say Obama, this guy, it's like bullshitter. And it's like, this sticks with me because I can't get past who lies like this. Oh, tell me some more. So my attitude towards Obama's speech has always been, go on, tell us some more. Oh, have you learned a new story now? Oh, tell us your new story. And it's a matter of, it's like there's an audience full of shills who've been paid to clap and cheer and say all kinds of things about this great man. And I'm in amongst them and I'm like, are you for real? Really? This guy? It's like, under him, wars expanded. Wars expanded in Afghanistan, in Iraq. We had the international affairs, we had the old Arab Spring, a kind of black on black troublemaking exercise that destabilised all Europe and we used as a pretext to have a bit of a civil war in Syria and also to topple Gaddafi in Libya and to pretty much destabilise and cause a change in government in practically every country along the coast of the Mediterranean. He kept surprisingly quiet while all that was going on. Called it something that it wasn't. Like, he was tremendously poor in his decision making. It's like he was such a fake that by the time he got to the top, the people saw this guy. It's like, I sit here and watch this video and I'm like, who lies like this, right? And who else saw this video and asked the same question?
I had a uncle who was one of the, who was part of the first American troops to go into Auschwitz and liberate the concentration camps. And the story in our family is that when he came home, he just went up into the attic and he didn't leave the house for 6 months.
Right, a guy like this, he projects gullibility into people. That's a trait that, if you can recognise that he's a condescending, narcissistic prick that talks down to people and he's willing to say any shit to, in essence, get them on side, right? You've got a guy here who's a con man. So the trick to this is to go out and con him. People who might have had an eye to take a more firm grip on the control of the United States of America looked at this candidate and said, we can tell this guy anything and he'll believe us. It's gullible. It's like, running his mouth like that. Those who would know, right, that that's impossible, that story he told, that would raise eyebrows and alarm bells. People saw this. This went out. This is CNN. People saw this. Those who saw would have been like, I think we found our guy. Seriously. I think we found our guy. This guy is a fucking buffoon that's, in essence, so condescending, so narcissistic, he will sell any bill of goods that we feed him. I just look at it, I'm like, no, this guy's dangerous. This guy's truly a puppet. And then it's a matter of, when, by the time his campaign was fully ramped up, he was being sold as the Messiah. He truly was. He was being sold in hyperbolic terms as the man who's come to save the world, and he was given a Nobel Peace Prize. It's like there has never been in the Western world a cult of personality manufactured quite like Obama's. It just hasn't happened. It's like people speaking of a Manchurian candidate. It's like it already happened. It was this guy. It was this guy all along, and it had it written all over it right from the start. And it's like he managed to trick an incredible number of people. And it's like I found myself for many years being in a minority of maybe 1 in 20 people who didn't just dislike this guy's politics, but would have pointed to him as to say, this guy's really, really dangerous. Having sniffed out his type. I was no kid back in 2007. Like when 9/11 happened. For people who've had their worldview shaped by it and its subsequent, in Britain certainly, reinvention of racism. When the Labour government made a terror suspect of every Muslim in the country and put them under the microscope. So I don't know how the Muslims in Britain have ever forgiven the Labour Party, but the Labour Party, in some way regards, in recompense, completely surrendered to them, having made them pariahs and actually sparked a new wave of racism, which then actually caught more pace when this guy's cult arrived in Britain. On the day of the election in 2008, I had this early morning job. If I remember rightly, from where I were, where I saw it. I mean, coming in on a train to Manchester Piccadilly from probably Stockport or the airport. Quite early in the day, coming into Manchester on a train, and I'm approaching like Piccadilly station from like the south on the train line, and gets off the train and then look and see through some of the glass on the approach to the main station. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it was the biggest poster I'd ever seen in my life of Barack Obama's smiling face. It was the biggest poster I'd ever seen in my life. It must have been 50 or 60 foot tall. Like really, like it was a big wall and it had a great big poster of Barack Obama's face on it. In Manchester Piccadilly station at the height of the war on terror, back when they had like, you'd be getting off a train and there'd be a wall of G4S security guards for you to get through, like a guard fence every time you got off a train there. It's like, this place must employ an additional 300 security guards, all G4S. That's what it was like then. It was a police fucking state, right? The UK back then, but they weren't cops. They were all private security. Just private security as far as anyone could see. It's like the amount of money that G4S were billing the government for every single one of those fucking security guards. And they were just guys off the street. They were just unemployed guys in uniform. There were security guards everywhere. And I comes in There's the line of the G4S guys standing there like the fucking Gestapo, and then behind them a massive poster of Barack Obama. And it's like, that's the image of him that stayed with me, and it always raised the question of simply, who paid thousands of pounds to put that poster up, have it produced? And I'm at it, and I'm like, that's no fucking bill sticker, that's really well made. That's actually been printed to size with an enormous plotter, something they'd used to make posters for billboards. That's professional. I'm lucky because I used to, nerd, used to work in IT industry, know a lot about how you go about printing something. Would sell the machine. Wouldn't sell a machine big enough to fucking print that thing. Like a massive fucking semi-glossy, thin, stuck to the wall. I'm like, how long is it going to take? How long is that going? Depending on what it's made out of, how long is that going to take to get fucking down? Looking at it, massive, with big smile and great big fucking ears, massive poster of Obama, and I'm also thinking, what's the point of that? What's that in aid of? First, who paid for it, and then who's it in aid of? What's that in aid of? There's no last-minute voters in Manchester. Why is that there? And it was a matter of, this guy went further than being the President of the United States. He became a full-on global cult of personality. Great big picture of him on the fucking wall. It's like, there's something a bit Big Brother-esque about this. We've been given a kind face for our master. It's like a great big picture, poster of Stalin on the side of the building. No escape from the image of the new boss. This fella never answered a question, was ineffectual in everything that he got involved in. Ineffectual. He just didn't do anything. He was very much in his way, very much like Obama. Indecisive, ineffectual, and fundamentally always incapable of delivering his goals. Now, the feature of it as well as to where, I mean, it's like, I know people, I knew people back then who were like gaming buddies of mine. Gaming buddies, as the world was then, because I had a lot to do with Americans around that time. Friend of mine who was he's a young guy now. He'd be about 36, 37, but he was a young guy back then. He used to play. He tricked us out. He tricked us into believing he was older so he could join us as a grown-up guild in a game. So we were all in our 20s, or mid to late 20s, and he was like 13 or 14. A smart kid. We had no idea we were still at school when we were all working guys. We had no idea. He was such a smart kid. Great communicator, bilingual, good Spanish speaker, very clever kid. It's like, this kid's gonna go far. He's got the talk, and he's willing to basically lie, but be so endearing about his lies that people let him get away with murder. Cute kid, if you like, clever. So, still to this day, a friend of mine. It's like, if he was, if you were to get the call on Skype or something, he'd be like, "Hey, right." Would exchange words with him. Usually, would exchange words with him around election time nowadays, because he'll be. Well, this thing, he's not now strictly part of like the Democrats thing, but he'd probably be doing his bit. Or else he'd be keeping his gob shut. And it'd be a matter of, he was at university when Obama was running for president in North Carolina, and in his university, in essence, just because he has got some ability, he's very good at networking and organising people. He used to do it online. He turned what he used to be able to do online, which was in essence raise a load of kids up to rebellion, right? He was able to do it at his university, and he started an Obama campaign at his university using all the skills he learned. And it's like, who was teaching this guy tricks? I was. So it's like, this guy then creates this poster campaign, gets t-shirts printed, gets an Obama thing going, and he believes he buys all this change shit. He's a good kid, this one. He wants to save the world, this guy. He wants to change the world, this one. So he organises all the lefties, all the hippies, all the peace guys, because the proposition that Ryan's selling is, hey, we want things fairer, don't we? Who the fuck could turn that down? Who the fuck could turn that down in student politics back in 2007? We want everyone to get a fair shake. Obama's promising that. It's a symbolic thing. It's a matter of, hey, we're leaving our prejudices behind. This is a fresh start, man. Remember the branding? Or the sunrise branding, the old dawn of a new day. It's an hell of a trick. It's like a mind wipe. Oh, this guy gives us a fresh start. So you've got your kid activists having now made this imaginary friend. Sell it, right? Sell the dream of Obama. So in the end he gets elected, and my mates ended up having organised thousands of hours. So what laid in store for him? And I'm saying that my mate isn't one off. He isn't one. This is the thing. It's like, I'm not making a case where I'm just going to come back and say, hey, someone I taught loads of sales tricks, exploited a situation, became the Obama man in his university, and be a matter of tricks, lying he'd honed from, like, bloody, basically fighting an online war with me, right, in the same team. He's gone out, took that to the world, because I was a professional sales guy at the time, and it's a matter of he's taken it to the fucking masses. So in some regards, quite proud of him before we got the final form. But I was sceptical of him. By then I knew what this Obama thing was. But he was so sure that things were going to change for the better. He had no opposition, Obama. He didn't have a vicious headhunting press or a Republican Party going after him. He had very few opponents. His main opponents were on the left. The people who were really, really concerned about what he might be capable of were all on the left. This is not our guy. There's crowds of them. They've all disappeared now. They've all got old and died and fallen by the wayside. But you used to, there'd be a whole host of them queuing up from the left to say, this guy ain't right. People coming from inside the church saying, this guy ain't right. And he'd be shut up because there were no opposition from the actual ostensible political right. Pockets. We're talking 2008. Alex Jones had him worked out from day one. But it'd be a matter of, he got put to question about him hating Obama. And it's like, no. It's like, I don't hate Obama. I'm not racist. He says, I hated George W. Bush more than anyone in the world. I hated the previous guy too. And I hated the guy previous to him more. I hated Clinton. Hated Clinton, hated Bush Senior. Hated them all. That's what he was trying to tell us. It's like, these are mates. It's like, the whole thing is a gentleman's agreement, and it's just completely obvious that the actual roots of what is the Democratic Party, and certainly the Democratic Party, it gets its positions. It's a pecking order. It's like a pyramid scheme. There's movement if you toe the line. It's just, be glad you're a member. Use your power. Don't ask no questions. It's like it's grassroots don't get near the front. It's more effective campaigners. Guys, Bernie Sanders is when they say, oh, Bernie Sanders, socialist. It's like, you won't have heard of this guy, but around then, the best guy for the job, for a Democrat candidate, because they were out in the cold, They weren't in government. They'd been out of government for 8 years. The best candidate they had for president, and you won't have heard of this guy, was Dennis Kucinich. It's like he was at the time, he could be seen as a man of the, let's say, moderate left. He was more concerned about corruption and more concerned about, hang on a minute, what kind of deal are these poor people getting? They've got to have a chance to, wash themselves in order to go and get a fucking job. So he was of the workers, very, very well supported by the unions, but dead reasonable. Kucinich, not a woke character. He would have sympathies, right, towards the lefty victim groups. He would have sympathies, but he wouldn't be virulent, like, you're racist, never anything like that would ever leave his mouth. And it's like, to my mind, he were fit to govern. President Kucinich would have been quite a thing. And he didn't have any real enemies. He was well thought of. But it's like, guys like him running for president, what chance did he have against this guy? And then who's he up against? Another put-up candidate, Hillary Clinton, at the time going for the leadership of the running for president. And the establishment of the party just slices it as to say, well, it's going to be Hillary, isn't it? It's already been decided by them at the very top. Oh no, but see, this guy has probably got a better chance of winning because he's got this brilliant tactic as to where we're just going to use the race thing. We're going to come in the name of racial division, the racial unity, and we're going to sow racial division. Like this is like almost shit Nazi Germany. He kicked it to white people much in the same way as Hitler kicked it to Jews to blame someone. It's same rhetoric, just different methodology. Oh no, we don't want anyone dead. We won't go as far as that. We'll just make them kill themselves. It's like the movement he brought to life. I'm saying, it's like, right, my old boy who was at college who became an organiser for him. How was he rewarded? And I'm not saying he's one person. I'm saying he's one of thousands of people who got paid off by Obama or by his campaign for being loyal to Obama and being on message and have gone out and done the fight for him. By the end, you really believe in the guy, don't you? You are a true believer. And shit, the amount of, basically, of what would pass as like activism in 2007, the number of them who were like New Agers, who dropped the chanting and the imagining things and the burning of things and the general shit talk and actually came out to mobilise a vote for this guy, having he's the chosen one, having that sort of black woman magic circle, having them decided, oh, this is our time. It's like the crazies of the time, the wokies of the time, they were masquerading as magicians and witches and spiritualists and Wiccans and mediums and psychics on the internet. They all fucking, that's what the internet was at the time. As to his viral internet campaign was like just all joined by all these people who were ostensibly grifters, But in the time they were using this, I'm psychic, magical grift. Give me money, I'll teach you how to be psychic too. That kind of shit was massive on the internet back then. That was the main grift before there was crypto, was grift religion. But they all go after Scientology, but the hippies creating online communities. That's a bigger thing because it was free of charge. They weren't taking money off people like Scientology. But they all joined the wagon. They all joined the Obama wagon. And it's like, all these fucking creepy weirdos who joined his campaign, and they all went to bat for him, and they all showed some votes. They all turned up with some votes. They all delivered votes. All got rewarded. What did they get rewarded with? Position. Not in the Democratic Party, in the government. They got government jobs as rewards. Like bang, 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 bang. My man, who's he work for? State Department. His updates of what he's up to these days on Facebook have become less frequent. And why is that? Well, he's in his mid-30s now. He's moving up. He could be, he's in the diplomatic service. So he's a US envoy. A US envoy? I'm like, yeah. From gamer, language student, which is to him is cheating because he already spoke Spanish. he were at university to just get the accreditation for something he could just do anyway. It's like, really? Yeah, I want to get all the accreditations to be like, recognised multilingual interpreter, blah, blah, blah. Fine. So it's like, where is he? It's like last I heard he was in Honduras. But over his career, he's served in Central Europe. Not Central Europe, Central America. He's been everywhere. He's had a year or two here, a year or two there. It's like this guy's in the diplomatic service. He's probably shooting one day to be an ambassador. By the time he's my age, you're likely to be an ambassador. US ambassador. Yeah, he's a smart, and he's smart. Small person in real life though. One of them. Little midget sort of guy. But it's a matter of could be said to have lived a clean life. Truth be told of him, he isn't corrupt like that, but he's shifty and clever, and lying comes quite easy to him, or used to, and his lying came so easy to him it was like a game, and we could be his friend because really, come on, he were really good, and he'd be like he'd lie to our enemies for us, and they'd trust him when we used to be at war playing games. Our real life enemies that were human beings. He in essence was a double agent that was on our side. But they thought, our enemies thought he was their spy in our organisation. It's like, so what's this guy good at? It's like he had a massive flair for that kind of go-between game, espionage. To be supposedly, ostensibly a fair dealer, but definitely isn't, but he could pretend to be. A kind of a con man, a very, very sophisticated one. It's like, what does he do now? US envoy. How did he get the job? He got the attention of this guy. Went all the way to the top. Now, if he, as I suspect, is one of 1,000 kids, the people who owe him the most, their careers, could be said. There's just so many of them who are now 20 years in positions of high authority. It's like Obama's kids, his bitches, are now grown-ups, aren't they? It's like, he's pimped them all. He owns so many people. Of the current people who are working in government, he's given an incredible number of them their careers. And selected them himself. He gave them their careers. He went and shook them by the hand and says, "You come work for me." And he'd be one of the poorest judges of fucking characters in the world, bearing in mind that he's a narcissist. Bearing in mind that when he got into power, he started listening to the generals and, in essence, just carried on everything as it was before. Joined them. The Nobel Peace Prize winner and peace campaigner joined forces with the military as soon as he got into office. They'll have had a word with him and it'd be like, "Look, son, you think you understand, but you don't." Straight in there. It's like, he's our guy. What did I tell you? Gullible. Someone who's willing to lie like that. He doesn't know whether he's pissing or on fire. He's our guy. And it'd be a matter of the wider rabid social justice movement of going around calling people racist until you win is a manifestation of this guy's alloplastic defences, his protection, the way he defends himself, almost projected out onto a cult. Where there's actually, if you go after Obama and say, you know, he's the daddy of this identity politics, he's the guy who fueled it, he taught these guys how to fight like he was communist John Connor. He taught people how to just play the race card. He taught them. It's like, wow, Mum, a politician playing the race card like you. Isn't he great? Isn't he just like us? So to those out in the world who do quite well out of this power situation we have, they're looking at this guy, it's like his dream come true. He's telling us exactly what we want to hear. He is reinforcing our magical force fields and imaginary power with his rhetoric. He's one of us. He's a sorcerer messiah figure. He'll give us what we want. He'll deliver us. And he delivered them jobs. He delivered them careers, following in his footsteps. It's like this Obama cult of personality thing. It's like, this is the worst thing ever happened. We haven't realised yet. He's worse than what Tony Blair did. He's far worse than what Tony Blair did in this country. Obama is like, this guy tore everything to pieces. This guy sabotaged our culture, laid law, common morality. So this guy ended up being a real problem. And it's a matter of the media with him. They'd kissed his ass and sucked him off so much when they didn't know who he was. By the time they realised who he was, it would have been the end of their credibility that they were the people who propelled him into power. So in that regards, he's got absolute leverage. They have to maintain the lie of his genius forever, or look like the absolute fools they proved to be when he managed to trick all of them. And then against soft people like that, the race card game is absolutely unplayable. Because even back then, to run your mouth a bit racist, see how it work. He just reached for it and grabbed it and just wielded it as a weapon and encouraged anyone who could to do the same. Get some of your own. This guy and his wife are evil. They're evil people who've tried to reshape the world to better suit their fucking mood, to better suit their feelings. The Obama thing is big. He's, say, a fantasist, messianic. Started to believe him at some stage when they were all saying he was sent by God to save us all. Accepted a Nobel Peace Prize before he'd ever before he'd ever been elected. It's like you're running in an election against him, and he's been given the Nobel Peace Prize while he's a candidate in an election. Have you ever heard anything like that? What's this year's October surprise? One of the candidates running for president is going to be given the Nobel Peace Prize based on the promises he's made and what he represents. Racism. It's like, do you get it? It's like the world's asleep. There's nobody banging on this guy's door is to say, hey, you played a fucking part in the way that things are now, didn't you? It's like you created politician Donald Trump. You created that guy to come after you. And it's a matter of, he might take swipes, Trump might take swipes at the candidate he's running up against. But the guy he's got in his headlights, the guy he really wants to discredit and take down and expose, certainly this man. He created the modern culture. Started all these trends of putting your political opponents in jail, tying them up in legal difficulty. Big at it. Massive at it. Weaponise. It's like that guy needs to have his taxes assessed. Let's investigate him. Why? Something about his face. He's that guy. Villain. His gay chef turned up dead earlier this year. And he turned up for going out playing golf with his hands all covered in bandages. And it was reported on. But after about 3 or 4 weeks, the case was closed, sealed, gone. Not saying he did it. I'm saying the case is closed, sealed, done, no questions asked. Disappeared. To me, it's not as bad as if he's like done a murder or is an accessory to it or something like that when a guy's drowned in a foot of water or something. I'm not saying he drowned the guy. I'm saying when there were trouble around him, did you see just how quickly it was fucking cleared up and everybody moved on and forgot about it and no real media covered it? Do you see how quickly it moved to clean his mess up? Yeah, I'm saying, well, it's always done that. Always. No one ever gets near this guy. No one scrutinises him. Nobody ever touches him. No one talks about his past. No one talks about his stepfather. No one talks about his mother. No one talks about his birth father. No one talks about the guy in Africa who's supposedly his brother who does not know him and says that there's absolutely no way that he's my brother because you're just, in essence, you're calling my father a guy who fucked around. You bring disgrace on my family. He's not our brother. He's got something akin to a CI cover identity that is Barack Obama. They never got down to where he was sort of born in the first place. He never produced a birth certificate that wasn't a forgery. And that'd just be a technicality to trip him up on as to, we want to prove you're a liar, sir. And you won't even let us go as far as that because this guy lies all the time. But if you were to come at him calling him a liar, well, I'll tell you what, that's just about the worst sin you can commit against Mr. Obama, is to say Mr. Obama is a compulsive and dangerous liar. That's about the worst sin there is. He'd come after you, calling him a liar if you were a big enough profile. Many people in public threw down on Obama. This guy. You not hear that? Tucker Carlson, about 2 hours of an interview with a chap who openly spoke. Didn't seem to be the most put together fella in the world, but quite eloquently spoke and went into a lot of details about the days back in Chicago where he used to have sex with Mr. Obama. He just puts it straight out there, his details, all the times and the dates, they all check out. He can prove what he was where he said he was. This was a gay guy who wasn't a deadbeat or anything like that. He was, just a gay guy who was it liked drugs, liked parties, liked nightclubs and stuff. Made friends with this up and coming politician who liked to have sex with him from time to time. Nothing ever came of that, but these old rumours come surfacing again. Somebody else, one of these sick people, comes out from the past. Media just terminate it. Gone. All these stories that came out about him when he was in office. Yeah, I went to university with that guy. What? Yeah, he was called Barry Soetoro. He's a creepy pimp. Coke. And you're like, pimp? And it's like, yeah, pimp. And it's like, he's gay. It's like he would know he was selling himself to guys. He's that kind of pimp. He's taking it in hand. Excuse me? And they look back in records and they're like, hang on, where is this guy? And then he's an academic, never had a job. He was once, he got a job working for a law firm where his wife already worked, and then he ends up, her and him end up getting together, and that's the end of it. You'll find no details of any cases he ever tried. You'll find no record. His writings for his doctorate, etc., his fancy education, they're national secrets. They're not available. You cannot read his PhD thesis. It's not published. It's nowhere. There's no record of it. He was a lecturer on what was it? The Constitution, constitutional law. It's like, whoa. See, this is the thing. He said he was a lecturer when he was running for president. He was a lecturer in constitutional law at Harvard. And it's like, we've never been able to find a single one of his students, ever, never. Well, not one. Nobody remembers him. Wasn't there? Well, that's his official CV. That's what it says. It's like, he had a non-job. It's like, so yeah, he never taught anyone shit. He's an academic that's got no academic record. He's a professor with no students. So he is. He's a guy who's got to cover a fraud to get so far in the world. And he ended up taking his chances and going right to the fucking top. We live in an asinine, ridiculous, backward world when this guy who blagged his way to junior senator, one term in, runs for president, gets elected, and it's like, there's been, his cover story holds water if no one was actually looking at it, because his own party have never vetted him. They just like the idea of the guy. He knows they're dumb. He got them under his spell, and they propelled him to the very fucking heights of it. And because he's a narc, because he's of that kind of human thinks a certain way, and it's like, this guy thinks he's psychic, is a messianic legend in his own lifetime, as to where this guy can close his eyes and think, what a fucking massive big shot I am. It's like You've let a dangerous fantasist who doesn't take the world seriously, anything other than his own needs and feelings, and you've made him let him be president, and you've let him go around the world pretending he's some kind of quasi-religious leader, spiritual leader, who, while he had certain parts of the world under his fucking boot, went out on a world tour apologising for slavery. This man's hypocrisy will never know any bounds, because in his mind and the minds of his zealots, he can do no wrong even when he orders people to be killed who maybe don't deserve it. The worst of the worst people in the world. And at this moment in time, it does appear he's in charge of the Democrat narrative now. Do you want to? You can't beat a bit of Bammy. I mean, come on.
All Donald Trump wants us to think that this country is hopelessly divided between
projection, mind reading. He speaks of things he cannot possibly know unless he's psychic. This is a big problem I have with this guy, and why all along I'm like, get rid of this guy. He talks with absolute authority on things he knows nothing about, and it's dangerous. So this is a grifter, this is a con man who's got a long way down the game to where now his reputation is so built in amongst the choir that now it's like whatever he says doesn't get questioned, it just gets taken on board as gospel. And he's got this weird sort of high-pitched nasal voice that I find annoying, like it's some kind of little animal speaking, but that's a recent thing. He's stopped practicing sounding authoritative, and his voice has changed because he's not focused on putting on a fake voice to sound serious all the time. So then when he gets to talking, he's just this waffling fucker. But speaking of things that he knows in his mind that he cannot possibly know because he is not psychic.
Most of all, Donald Trump wants us to think that this country is hopelessly divided between us and them. Between the, quote, real Americans who support him, of course, and the outsiders who don't. The enemies within. Because Donald Trump understands, and he's not wrong about this, that
See the massive edit wallop, crash edit. This is from the Barack Obama official account. So this is the bits you want to hear. You stick a crash edit in. Like, you do it on purpose to fuck with. You know, you do it. He deliberately gaslights. He wants reaction from even the likes of me who just fucking know who he is for afar and will put out the warning. Because now, I mean, he might, if he ever found one of my videos, no, he'd just stand there and mock it. He wouldn't address any of it. He'd just mock it. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Huh. Look at this guy. Huh. Look at this guy. Huh. That's all he's got. And the answer is, yeah, what else you got? And then it'd be like, I'm reporting to you to your local police force for racial aggressive, whatever you want to call it. I'm being harassed. I'm being racially harassed. That's all this guy is. Is it because I'm black? Is it because I'm black was like a joke that used to get thrown out a lot back in the days when race didn't matter so much, and those who made it a thing, right, it were like, all right, bit of scrutiny here, really? You think someone's just so stupid? And in my experience, you know, back in the old day, people would reach for racist language just simply when they wanted to hurt the feelings deliberately of a black person. Well, there's a lot of black people, Pakistanis around here, and if you just people weren't racist towards them. They weren't racist, but they knew they could say certain things to them, and that would upset them and provoke them and get a reaction from them. So they said them because they wanted to provoke them. They wanted to get a reaction. They didn't want to get a reaction from their entire race. They just wanted to get a reaction from that individual. And it was used as a way to provoke and bully. And it'd be a matter of, if you can grow past these labels, they don't work anymore. And they actually, to the people who use them, just tell you who they are by using them. So it's not an insult, it's a message as to say, I'm this kind of idiot that reaches for weapons. Because they're not going to do anything else, they're just going to run their mouths at you. I'm one of these people who reaches for words as weapons. You know. Hey, thanks for letting us know. We'll strike you off every single fucking list. Thanks for letting us know you're that kind of guy. When you start to throw racist language around, that's the message you send to people. Not this, he hates all of them. No, he mightly hates one. But he's someone who's willing to reach for weapons. These people that Obama speaks of, the racist, as like a great big collective, it's like this is just projection. This is the world he created. This is the world he creates. This is all projection. All this us and them shit is speaking of with Trump. It's like Trump doesn't run his mouth about race ever. He talks about illegal immigration, and he makes the case as to say it's like, and he makes what is a political stand, right? That people have been making in the US from all sides for many years, as to say, we've got a problem with our immigration system as to where it's expensive to keep people in prison, and other countries see our border as a great big dumping zone. Well, we don't want to keep him in prison. It'd look bad if we killed him. We will exile this guy. And off he goes to America. It's like, this guy could be a serial rapist, and it's like, we'll just get him off the books, out of our prison. We don't need to listen to his crazy nonsense every day. We don't have to put up with him anymore. Just dump him, and he can make his way to America. He can throw his paperwork away, false name, fresh start, and that. It's just there to be done. And it's like that and that is an inevitability, because that kind of behaviour goes on all around the world. So it's just going to happen anyway. So that's the reality of it. That's what you've got. Not that it's a new development. It's open to that. All one has to do is have the will to do so. So it will happen. The more people you let in, the more of them you get. And it's like, people like that doing what they want to do will, in the end, bring down your society. One way or another, they'll be costing time and money of one kind of government worker or another, whether it be prison service, whether it be police, whether it be doctors, whether it be... And it's like, you are, in essence, importing other countries' impossible to solve problems in human form. If you can Shanghai all the criminals and put them on a boat, send them to Britain, you don't have to worry about them robbing you anymore. It's the reality of it. That's what Trump talks like. It's like, you can't argue with that being the case. It's just there to be done. You look at it, how much it costs to keep someone incarcerated. You look how dangerous something like a serial killer is to countries like Britain, America, France, they turn a serial killer into a source of work for the academics for years to come, and will happily spend millions keeping the guy in high security isolation prison. But other countries don't have that means. So what do? They put them to use against the political foes. How? They ship them to them. They let them have them. They dump them on them. It's like, would you like to do a service for your government? Be you in America. It's like, if you don't know that that's a tactic, you're sadly behind on what human beings are capable of. And there's a naivety in thinking that they're not capable of doing things like that. You're just absolutely stupid. You leave yourself open to be blinded as to something then gets shown to you is to say, you know, these human traffickers, they are real sons of bitches. Capable of cruelty and murderousness that you would not believe, because people are just money to them. And they've certainly lost a few on the way. You run your mouth a bit too much, you could be next. They're that kind of people. They are ruthless fucking cutthroats who are in the skin game. And it's like, politicians like this creep are not even mentally equipped to admit that people like that even exist. Him and his kind. They're such moral cowards because of their own corruption. They can't look at horror and see it. They just have to let it go. They just can't even look at it. In putting someone in power who'd be gullible and pliable, they've put someone in power who's also ineffectual at doing the basic job of protecting the nation, and then see that job as being too difficult, and then find an excuse for it. And the minute that the sort of farces of the political left discovered, hey, you know, if people are down on all this illegal immigration by way of it being a real danger to all kinds of systems, we'll just call it racism, shall we? All of it. And we'll just say, well, you just don't like them because they're brown. It's like, no, we don't like them because we don't know if there's murderers and rapists amongst them. And that be a thing as to where kind of makes sense to be there. Get that fucker off our books. Exile them. Send them to your enemy to deal with. We're talking about having lived through what was a Cold War. That'd be an active tactic of the Russians. It's like if you were a gifted thug, like you were, like, say you were Andrew Tate, let's say, in the old Soviet Union, and they saw you had this set of skills that were unique to pimping, cruelty, violence, running your mouth, telling lies, they'd be interested in sending you abroad to cause trouble. Next thing you know, you'd be KGB at large, working out of some kind of embassy somewhere, and what would your job be? Oh, to spread drugs, to sell drugs and pimp and raise money, raise funds for our needs from Vice. That's what a KGB agent was. They'd send a gangster you wouldn't be a gangster. They'd set a gangster at large in your country that had diplomatic immunity. So the police wouldn't be allowed to arrest him. His wares would be in embassy vehicles, and his drug supply would be in the diplomatic pouch. That kind of thing. So you can't ignore that. It's like the most pointed weapon in the world to send to destroy your enemy is a fucking lunatic fantasist narcissist who can run his mouth and talk for days about UFOs and sorcerers and, you know, that guy. Send him to your enemy. Get rid of him. It's like, yeah, but he's also, you know, he's all these things, but he's also, well, he killed his mother. Send him. Send the ultimate crackpot you can find and exile him from your country and send him to your enemy and make him a problem because of good old human rights. They've got to keep that bag of shit alive, and as long as he's running his mouth, the resources of your enemies being wasted. Do it enough times, you've changed something. And it's like an inability to accept that this game is played because one maybe profits from the game, or is just ignorant. And if you're too ignorant to face what the world is, you should not be a political leader. If you can't think and reason along those lines, you should not be anywhere near the front. No, you're rubbish. You don't know enough to do the job. So you're not looking in the right places. You're not focusing attention on the underworld. Because you are of the underworld. You just never got caught. You think like they do. Forget about it. Turn a blind eye. People of weak characters oversee states where terrible injustice go on, but nobody fucking talks about them. Because he doesn't want to hear it. He should be talking about it. It's like Trump wins hands down. Why? Because what I was just talking about with the is something I've known about for years. It's the reason why I don't like. You know that vetted immigration coming in where they're saying it's the legal immigration that's the problem. It's like, no, I'm not that concerned about that. It's like you can control that politically. It's like this unvetted on the boats. It's like, no, these are people who couldn't go through that process. There's a reason they've deliberately avoided that process and just turned up, because that process would have weeded half of them out as being crazy as fuck, right? And not let them in. If they had to fill in forms to legally come in, that's the stumbling block. They can't pass that test. That's why they're on a fucking boat. And it's so obvious because the legal means of getting in. You could turn up at a port of entry, like the Channel Tunnel, and say, I'd like asylum. They can't even go and not have to pay no fucking gangster nothing. It's like they can't even get past that level of vetting. That's why they're on a fucking boat. It's like if you don't realise that you are amongst the stupidest people in the world, and if you are willing to let that go on, it's because somewhere along the line somebody pays for those people to be housed, clothed, fed. You're making money out of that process. You found a way of using humans to siphon money, extra humans to siphon money out of the taxpayer, rob the government coffers. It's what it looks a lot like. The Royal Navy has every right, in my mind, right, to those ships that are coming across, to get them under their control, or even if it's a dangerous thing, remove half the people off it, and then escort them the fuck back where they came from, and drop them off. Not lay hand on them, not hurt any of them, not do any of them any harm. Give them all a sandwich. Seriously, give them all a sandwich and hot brew. It's like, keep them alive. Take them the fuck back to where they came from. And take it up with them. Why is it that there's a weird bullshit turn of phrase they use in the press, where they always try and blame Britain when somebody dies on that stupid crossing? Amateur. This stupid boats thing where there's loads of them on a dinghy. It's like, you see video of loads of them on a dinghy, the dinghy sinking and a problem, and it's like, but we don't see it when they all go down. And we don't see the number of times they fucking make it on some makeshift craft, and you're like, you came in that thing? There's a real sniff of massive globalist private concern that owns companies like Serco and sees that influx as an endless source of profit. And there's a real thing out there as to where they have to live somewhere. Those with a mind, one way or another, whether it be rented or temporary, They need accommodation, and they're going to get housing benefit, and you can charge the government an inflated rate for that and provide services to these people and charge for that as well. And then the idiots in the public square are saying they're getting all this stuff as if it's their fault, as if it's like they play a part of it coming over. But it's a matter of, no, you're missing that everybody who supplies this stuff is getting paid. A human being costs a certain amount of money a day to keep alive. And that is a market for somebody. This is the most basic economics. You know, even toilet paper costs money. Even taking a shit costs you money. Water isn't free. Electricity isn't free. You pay to live, and that's the source of income. That's the source of money. And there are those in the world who see that kind of thing as a straight up opportunity. And there are those who, no, you wouldn't think like that. It's like there are those who do. That'd be the thing they always look to invest in. And it's all propped up by these people have got human rights. So they take a good law, a good rule, and they exploit it for bad purpose. Now, I think I just explained that quite well as to why one might be against immigration. And that'd be what Trump be talking about at his rally. I ain't got any feelings about people based on skin colour. I'm sorry. I just haven't got any feelings about them. I don't bother. If the guy's a prick, he's a prick. I don't care what colour he is. I'll make a consideration as to say, you know, this guy now, he's from a different culture, so he's got something different to say. His ways may not be ours, but it doesn't mean he's dangerous or malicious or ill-tempered. He just do it a little bit of a different way. It don't matter, who cares? Ian Wright was on talking to Gary Neville and Keane the other day on the Overlap, and he was talking about having onions with beans on toast. You like? And they're all like, you what? Onions? Fried onions with beans on toast? He's like, yeah, oh yeah, great. It's like, never heard of it. It's like, well, it's a Jamaican thing. And it's like, yeah, you have your own ways of doing things, and fair enough. It's just absolutely, that's the final word, isn't it? It's a Jamaican thing. There's nothing wrong with it. Who cares? It's like, eat what you like, have your own culture. I don't care. But it's like, this guy's like a starting point for rhetoric. Now, the rhetoric comes out, and then you get the resistances to say, hey, God, this guy's calling us racist. This guy's making us victims even. He's having a go. He's attacking us. We're under attack. We have to form a group now to defend ourselves. It's just what happens. It's natural. It's like osmosis. It happens naturally. So the white man sieges up, looks to go on the defensive. And then other groups, the groups of people he doesn't give a fuck about that in their own way might be concerned, as to say, hey, you know, the white guys have formed a group, that's a danger to us. And then now the group of white guys is formed in opposition to this man's racism. He's saying, look, I told you, I was right. Look, there they are. Look at them. They're making trouble. They're a threat to all of us. It's like he's the architect of all of it. This is his fucking world. When's the next interviewer going to say, do you realise you create all of this? There would be no Donald Trump presidency if it wasn't for you. You sent the world a message. A pimp, a lying, dumb manipulator, faking it till he makes it. In essence, an actor of a kind, a performer, was able to get himself all the way to the top. And it sends out the message is to say, well, if a fake, if a phony, if a performer can be president, well, so can I. I could do a better job than him. Well, why don't you try? You know, I think I'm gonna, because I've had enough of this. If this country goes down, it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or you're a pauper. You're just as fucked. In every sense, just as fucked. He does not understand how much trouble he's made, this guy. And he's either oblivious or he's that evil. And both are a disaster. Either is a disaster.
Dividing people, making them angry, will boost his chances of being elected. It's not good for the country, but it might improve his odds. We saw it last night. I know nobody's going to boo now. All you're going to do is vote. So the man holds this big rally at Madison Square Garden. And the warm-up speakers were saying the most, we're trotting out and peddling the most racist, sexist, bigoted stereotypes.
Yeah, a comedian was on, weren't they? There were a comedian on who was a bit edgy. And they can't laugh at that. They have to take it. They can't. He said those things. It doesn't matter if they were jokes or not. He said them. So they have to be taken as statements. Where when he says something fucked up, he'll say, just kidding. Give himself a pass. Oh, just kidding. It's like this is a level of gaslighting that's like you're reaching for techniques now that don't generally work. As to where I see chinks in this guy's game book now. I think his power's diminished massively from what it once was, and I see errors in his tactics. This is not a good strategy, because people may rush away to find out what was said and find themselves, well, that was kind of funny, wasn't it? It does have the formulation and does actually work as a joke. Yeah, there's a science to jokes. Yeah, that's actually funny. So he's not doing himself any favors, because he's talking like a pimp. He's talking like a cult leader. He's talking like the people he speaks to are only going to take his word for it and are not going to read a newspaper and are not going to watch video. This is what the cult leader does, because the cult leader in the usual proper situation has cut off all outside influence, and it's like, but this cult leader hasn't, but he's still using the techniques of the guy who's got them all locked in a camp. You see what I mean? It's like this guy's grip on the right tactic, even in this situation where you're looking to do anything to win with emotional manipulation and dishonesty, deception. He's not got it anymore. He's not got it. It's like his instincts are incorrect. It's like his big narcissism has fooled him into splitting more than he once did. And this is like bravado talking like this. This is a fantasist thinking he's the center of the fucking universe all over again. He's coming to save you. Sickening to listen to this guy.
One guy called Puerto Rico, quote, an island of garbage. Now, these are fellow citizens he's talking about. Here in Philadelphia, they are your neighbors. They are your friends. They are your co-workers. Their kids go to school with your kids.
Boring, isn't it, that, to pivot from the individual to the collective? It's Owen Jones level student shit, that. You take the individual incident, you take the things said of the individual, and then expand it to every last fucking one of them. There's that's insane. That is racism. That's just the same. What matters with him is the saying. For me to say that Barack Obama is a reflection of all men of colour. Well, actually, you could with him. He's not a black man, is he? Well, he doesn't claim to be. Actually, how does he work out? He is. His father's a guy called Frank Marshall Davis, who was a communist organizer, a communist student organizer, and a Marxist writer. It's like but he's from upper middle class circles, you know. Plenty of money, and his mother, oh God, she was like someone who does appear to have been in her own way used and kind of passed around. And his stepfather, as it turns out, was one of the richest men in Indonesia, wasn't it? He didn't grow up in America. But he's speaking as if, you know, oh, I'm one of you. We share this thing, this connection as to where I'm a bit brown, and I got big ears. The ears are what actually give away his parentage. And you see pictures of his dad. It's like he is in his thinking, in the way he reacts, in the way that he is massively racist. He tars everyone with the same brush, but he does it in reverse. He makes them a victim. He doesn't victimize. He paints them a victim. He offers unasked for sympathy to a almost imagined collective community. It's like some kind of painting some kind of surreal, sick image. It's like, this is how dangerous this guy is when he runs his mouth. And take an isolated thing and make it an attack on everyone with brown skin. And can be trusted to do it. This is all he does. This is the only speech he has. This is what I call, when anyone delivers one, an Obama speech. Nice Obama speech is a comment I've left thousands of times in my life. Nice Obama speech, because it's this speech just delivered by someone else. This speech read off a phone, delivered by someone else who thinks that this is high thought philosophy. His cult is of the most dangerous people who've entered politics in the last decade, who are just totally woke, and anything that isn't in their wheelhouse they just leave for other people to manage, and then there's no one accountable. You bring someone in who's incompetent and preoccupied with this imaginary bullshit, and then the cat is not in the building, the mice can do whatever they like. Who's really in charge while this guy's talking about shit like this? The people who decided to pick him out when back in the day they worked out he was someone who was willing to tell any lie to win, and if pushed will just make up some bullshit on the spot. And he's not a bad looking fella, is he? He's not bad looking for one of them black fellas.
These are Americans.
Oh, pivot again.
They're people.
Goes from individual to race to nationality.
And that is the reason why this election should not be close. It should be clear. Here's a good rule. If somebody does not respect you, if somebody does not see you as fellow citizens with equal claims to opportunity, to the pursuit of happiness, to the American dream, you should not vote for them. You should not expect them to make your life better. They will not help you make the, they will not help you pay the bills. They're not gonna work hard to make sure your kid gets a good education.
She starts to flounder. Rubbish.
They're not gonna help you with
Go
a
on.
down payment on a house.
Like the government is. Bloody hell.
We have to reject the kind of politics of division and hatred that we saw represented. America's ready to turn the page. America's ready for a better story. Philadelphia,
You know, this is an edit. Obviously, it's an edit down, but this is Barack Obama's edit down. This is the video that he's put out. This is what. These are the highlights. These are the bits he thinks it's germane for you or the voter to listen to. He's bitching about coarse language and hurt feelings, and trying to let on that should be enough for you to make an informed decision about who rules the world. Is that a strong case? As this guy massively overplayed his hand? Will this guy in the next week go on to overplay his hand by so much as to actually put himself in the spotlight? As to say, what have you been up to for the last 8 years? Because he never left Washington. Still lives there. He spends... when Trump was president, Barack Obama, I bet your ass, spent more time in Washington than Trump did. Bet your ass. He'll have spent more time in Washington than Trump did. It's like, you bet your ass he doesn't talk like this in fucking private.
We are ready for a president, Kamala Harris. And the good news is Kamala Harris is ready for the job.
The good news is Kamala is ready for the job. Doing what he tells her to do. You never be with the state of people who've been in them high office in America for the last, on the Democrat side, for the last 8 years. I don't see how any of them have got what it takes to stand up to this guy. I think they all work for him. I think he pulls the strings. He never left the place. And he puts so many people in important positions that his phone, his basic phone book of contacts who are people he can go to, it's just endless. He installs so many people. He gives so many favours away that he's so well connected. You look at how they decided that AOC is the new political genius. It's like, who decided that? I'll bet you anything he did. You can control her. She'd be like, if you walked into the room, she'd just come, wouldn't she? She'd just... Oh my God. You're my hero. You're why I entered politics running my mouth just like you do. Oh my God. A vote for Kamala is a vote for Obama. A vote for Trump is a vote against this guy. It's like, I don't see how... a respect for Obama is fallen off. His could be said that the hype inflated his positions so highly for so long. He could have been seen at his poll rating of like 500%. It was magically overcharged. He was an icon, seen as a legendary figure and hero, like a superhero. I think his favourability rate is something like 55%. From having been 500. But 55 be just enough so he doesn't get turned on. And it's just the right opportunity is here now, you know, for him mouthing off like this, for Trump to just lay in about him. Because he never really has. Trump's never really stuck it to Obama. I think Obama's the guy who Trump would like to see. Obama is the guy Trump would like to see disgraced, exposed, as a fake, as a fraud, as a villain. And it's like, never before has Barack Obama give Trump right to reply like he has today. This is momentous. Mouthing off like this, Trump has got every right to just unload on him. Or not. But if he's ever been waiting for an opportunity to have a chance to take a fair shot at Obama, this is it. Trump come out swinging. Like, who does he think he is, mouthing off like that, things he's done and said? And go and reach for his Obama file of Trump has been on Obama's case for as long as I have.
I had a uncle who was one of the who was part of the first American troops to go into Auschwitz and liberate the concentration camps. And
that guy.
Story
if this guy's a dangerous goof, right? If a lowly at the time, mild-mannered professional delivery driver, can put a few clues together and go, hang on a minute, I know people like this. I'm from the sales game. I'd be surrounded with fucking low-level bullshitters like this all day and be turning around saying, you are a cunt talking like that. We're surrounded by bullshitters, and it's a matter of this. I know this creature. Sin 'em come, sin 'em go. They usually end up going down in flames, but this one, he had so many people round him to make sure he didn't fall off the wagon. Start back to his old cocaine sniffing, dick sucking ways. Oh, did I say dick sucking? Alleged dick sucking ways. Wouldn't want to get sued or in trouble. It's like, don't chase YouTube's money, and it doesn't matter anymore. Just a tip. Don't monetize your videos. You're chasing YouTube's money. You're seeking their approval. And you'll never get approval for calling him a cocksucker. Ever. Not from them.